Last year, a client left 1.7 million on the table because his brain treated every revenue task like a threat. Outreach email? Panic? Let's just check Slack. Let's prep the sales call? Anxiety spike. Let's scroll Twitter. And it wasn't until we rewired that pattern that he finally crossed the 7-figure mark after about 8 years in business. And if working 10 hours every day but only getting like 3 of real work done, this is for you. Because I'm going to show you the exact 4-step protocol that my client used every day to go from about 90 minutes of execution to about 4.5 hours to finally cross his first million. The pattern is very simple. Most founders block the first 2 hours of the day for the one project that would actually move revenue. But then when they sit down, 8 minutes in, they just tell themselves they need to quickly check one thing. And they open a new tab and they check Slack, and then someone needs something. And then by 11 a.m., that block is gone. And by 8 p.m., they hate themselves. And here's the thing, you've read the books, Deep Work, Atomic Habits, The One Thing, you've hired coaches, you tried every app, you know what to do. But you're like everybody else, something pulls you out of that work. And every month that stays broken, there's 50K to 200K, depending on your business level, that stays on the table. When you sit down to do work that actually matters, your brain isn't wired to like that. There's a part of the brain called the amygdala that handles threats, and it fires when you get nasty email. It thinks that it's just a snake. So it creates a stress response that you cannot handle effectively. So your brain does the math. This feels dangerous, so let's do something safe. And Slack feels safe, email feels safe, researching one more thing feels safe. And that's when you get that little relief hit. Congratulations. Every time you do that, you train your brain that high stakes work is dangerous. That's why you don't do it. And I know that the guru says that you need to block your calendar. Great, you block your calendar. I know that Atomic Habits says you need to optimize your environment. Done, your phone is in another room. I know your business coaches tell you what is the perfect strategy. Okay, cool, you have strategy. Productivity apps give you beautiful systems. Yeah, okay, you have beautiful systems. It's all perfect advice until your nervous system cannot handle. Until you freeze, you defer, you stall, you get sucked into fake work. It's like handing someone a gym membership and expecting them to deadlift 500 pounds. It's never going to work. The structure might be there, but the capacity isn't. And that is not a strategy problem. It's not a discipline problem. It's an execution problem rooted in a miswired nervous system. And until that gets rewired, everything else just prettier to-do lists while your engine stays broken. So let's rewire it. Let's create the perfect day blueprint. It all starts with the morning protocol. Most morning routines you've read about are wrong because they don't understand your biology. My client used to grab his phone in bed. Most advice says, okay, don't do that. Okay, cool, super helpful. But why? Because within 30 minutes of waking, your cortisol, your stress hormone, spikes by about 50%. That's normal. It mobilizes energy for the day. But if you check your phone first thing, you're stacking cortisol on top of that spike. Email, Slack, someone's pissed, someone broke overnight. So by 9 a.m., when you sit down to work, your system has been maxed out. So when execution discomfort hit at minute 8, there's have 0 bandwidth left. Your brain flees every single time. So here's what we change. Phone stays off for the first 60 minutes. No on silent, off. I told him to get sunlight within 15 minutes of waking to regulate his circadian rhythm. And then 20 minutes of movement or exercise. Doesn't matter what. It can be walking, stretching, lifting, I don't care. The goal is to burn off the morning cortisol spike. I also told him to avoid caffeine for the first 90 minutes because it blocks adenosine, the chemical that makes you sleepy. The chemical buildup on the night needs to flush in the morning. And if you block it with coffee, you're borrowing energy from your afternoon. That is what we started doing together. At 9 a.m., once he implemented this, he was regulated. His body clock knew what time was. His stress system wasn't maxed out before he even started. And when discomfort hits, because it always hits, he could handle it because his biology had been fine-tuned. But obviously, the morning protocol is just step 1. You actually need structure for the actual work. Amateurs work all day without any structure, which is why they get very few things done. Professionals use 90-minute block with built-in recovery protocols for handling the work. And that is what I showed my client how to do. 9 a.m., 90 minutes, one task, that's it. And before he started, he must ask himself, what am I achieving this session? What does success look like? And what will I do when discomfort shows up? And this activates the thinking part of the brain before the emotional part can hijack. I know you've never been told to do this. Most founders keep this, but that is why most founders waste most of their day. This little tweak of actually visualizing the end outcome changes everything. Because when dealing with highly important work like outreach, you can train your brain to see that dangerous task as routine. So when the urge to quit hits at minute 8, you have already been visualizing how you will be handling. The old version of my client would open Twitter or Slack. The new version of my client just had the proper protocol. The first step is to notice it. Because when you notice what's going on in your mental state, you create a separation. You create a gap between the discomfort and your response to it. And that is what allows you to name it. And when you name your emotions, you force the thinking part of the brain to engage, which calms the emotional part down. The third step is to reset your nervous system, is to activate your relaxation response. And you do this through 5 quick breaths. 5-second inhale, 5-second exhale. Try to do the extended exhale if you want to ramp up your recovery system. And this signals your body that you're safe. Then the fourth thing is to return to your work immediately, not because fear has been dissolved, but because the nervous system has opened the door for a third response besides fight or flight, which is stay, which is actually do the work. And of course, the adjustment wasn't immediate. Week 1, this worked about 3 out of 10 times. Week 2, about 5 out of 10. But at the end of month 2, he was consistently showing up and doing the work. His nervous system wasn't freaking out anymore. That's neuroplasticity. That's the brain rewiring itself in real time. That's building a new brain pathway. The one that says that discomfort does not equal danger. And no productivity app can give you this. No accountability coach can rewire your automatic response. This requires systematic training, daily exposure, tracked protocol. And that is what most people miss. You can't see your own nervous system while you are in it. See, Peter had tried this for, 8 years. It never actually worked. It wasn't until we gave him a proper dashboard and the real protocols that he was able to quit those patterns. Because this is like going to the gym. You train your mind in exactly the same way you train your body, through deliberate practice, through periodization, through external calibration that allows you to get better faster, just as elite athletes do. And I know what you're probably thinking, Leon, I run a real business, client calls, team meetings, fires everywhere. Well, listen, this is exactly why you need this. Because my client, what he did, he would schedule one hard ring fence session first thing in the morning, and Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and meetings compressed in afternoon blocks. Tuesday and Thursday, 2 deep work sessions, and meetings only is absolutely critical. And we also had a rule that all meetings were going to be stacked, no random 30-minute calls, it's scattered through it. If someone wants a 30 minutes, it goes into a 2-hour meeting block with 5 other calls. Your nervous system can handle meetings after deep work, but it can't handle meetings before deep work and then more meetings and then deep work again. Context switching destroys your capacity to execute. My client went from about 15 scatter meetings to 6 compressed blocks. Same meeting, different structure, way more effective. And his execution capacity went from like 90 minutes per day to 4.5 hours per day, which is enough. You are not trying to be Elon Musk. You can run a multi-million-dollar business just working 4-5 hours a day, or 6 hours in total time if we take meetings into account. Most founders have been psyoped in thinking they need 12 hours every day. You don't. You need high leverage, high intensity work for 4.5 hours and then 90 minutes for meetings. And that's how my client is now doing about $300K a month. Not because he's not wasting time anymore, because he's actually working on it. Implementing the ring fence session is not enough. You also need to recover like an athlete, because most founders will do the hardest thing first in the morning, feel depleted, check Instagram for a break, and then the rest of the day goes downhill. Because the 90-minute session depletes your brain's fuel. It burns through glucose and elevates your stress. So if you check your phone to get a relief hit, you've trained your brain that relief comes from hijacking your dopamine system. It never works like that. In order to have a high quality second session, what I recommended my client was to do 15 minutes of movement, of walking, looking through the window, of grabbing a glass of water or taking one more coffee, whatever, ideally outside. This allows you to further reset your cortisol rhythm, and a little bit of movement increases BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is the molecule that helps your brain form new connections. And this also allows your brain to stay in silence, which is like giving metabolic rest to the thinking part of the brain. And after 15 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, if you're really tired, you're ready for session 2. do. And if you do it the right way, I can guarantee you're going to have the same cognitive capacity at 9 a.m. Then by 1, you can take a recovery walk, and then 1:30, go back at it again. Or you can have lunch. In any case, by 3:30, Peter's done 3 90-minute sessions. That's 4.5 hours of real execution work. And that's the difference between drowning at 6 figures or having the time of your life at 7 figures. But you're not done yet though. You need to close the day the right way. The evening close is one of those things that people love to say they do. Very few people do it, but those who do actually massively benefit. I call it the end of day report. It's a very simple 10-minute review where you ask yourself, what did I accomplish today? What do I need to move to tomorrow? What are the 5 most important tasks? How can I get better? What do I need to avoid? This is important because it creates psychological closure. Without it, open loops keep running in the background, processing all night, which fragments your sleep. But when you explicitly move incomplete work to tomorrow with a plan, your brain goes, okay, this is handled. I don't need to stress about this. I can close the loop so I can actually go to bed thinking I'm safe. And this is crucial because you must embed rest and recovery protocols within your day and end your day in fully restive mode. So if you go to bed and watch Netflix and put some screen, you are stealing from tomorrow's performance. What I recommend you do is that you do conversation, you spend time with your loved ones, you stretch, you read, you go for a walk, whatever. But do not look at your phone 2 hours before going to bed, because that is what is going to damage your sleep and you're going to wake up in a worse spot the following day. And of course, this takes a little bit of time. Within the first month, I think my client was at like 50% success rate. Within month 2, he was at 80% success rate. And by month 3, he was literally a different person. He was literally executing at crazy capacity. He was consistently putting in 4.5 hours every single day on hard tasks. And I remember having this conversation about what have changed for him to have such an incredible business growth. And he told me, dude, nothing except me. I always knew what I needed to do. I knew it for 18 months. I just didn't do it. As soon as I started doing it, everything changed. So the solution, if you're currently stuck, is not to try harder, is to actually rewire your brain to execute like an elite operator. And if you're doing 300K a month and this feels uncomfortably accurate and you really want to get 7 figures, this is a warning. You must absolutely rewire it. And if you hit the link below, book a recording session with me and we'll show you how to rewire your brain to become the elite operator your business needs.